Hello, my friends. This is Miss Palomalo's second time trying to film our math video. Keep making mistakes, but that's okay. Here we go. So we're going to start with our learning intentions. So just give me a second while I share my screen. And let's start with our learning intentions for today. I'm just going to go back one. Okay, so today we are going to re-explore fractions of a set by determining, for example, what 1/3 looks like when you have 12 objects. Success criteria: when given 6 objects, I can determine what 1/3 looks like using a recipe card that you guys are going to get to write down in a moment. Our language intention, I utilize, ooh, I love that word, utilize. It's such a juicier word for the word use. I utilize vocabulary from our fractions anchor chart. I write complete statements incorporating, right? So making sure we're adding that mathematical language to our vocabulary, whether you are saying it or whether you are writing it. Our social intention is that I turn my work in on time and I try my best. That's all we're asking for, friends. So we're going to start with sharing our vocabulary from our anchor chart as we typically do. And the reason why we typically do this at the beginning of class is that so that we ensure that you guys are utilizing that mathematical language throughout the lesson. So try to say it with me at home, like I always ask you to do so, right? So numerator, denominator, benchmark fraction, 1/2. I also like to say that 1/2 is like our best friend in the fraction world. Once we know what 1/2 looks like and we can determine other fractions that are equivalent to 1/2, it helps us really figure out where other fractions should be plotted. We have part and then whole, partition, equal parts, equivalent, greater than, less than, equal to. We have bar model, pi model, number line, unit fraction, and fractions greater than a whole. And I've already mentioned those models and strategies, but here are visuals for it. So like a pi model, bar model, and number line. And of course we have our fraction claims, but we're not going to go into those today, or not right now at least. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen so I can share my other screen. So one second while I do that. And I'm gonna ask you guys to pause the video in a second because I do need you guys to go find your packet and open it up to page 242, where it says fraction, fill, and compare. In addition to needing your packet, you're also going to need a math notebook or some type of notebook to write in and a pen or pencil. So go do that. All right, you're back. And actually, I'm gonna ask you to pause me again in a second because I'm gonna ask you to write this recipe card down, which is gonna really help you with these problems today and really exploring fractions of a set. So our recipe card says, I'm gonna read it and then you can pause me to copy it down. Number 1, look at the total number of objects or spaces. Number 2, look at the fractions by first determining the denominator. Number 3, divide the total number of objects or spaces by the number in the denominator in order to shade the correct fraction if the numerator is 1. Number 4, if the numerator is not 1, after you divide, you must multiply the answer by the numerator in order to shade the correct amount. We are going to totally make sense of this recipe card after you copy it down, but I do want you to have it so that you can refer back to it. So pause me now so that you can do that. All right, you're back, I'm back. Let's make sense of this recipe card and how does that work? Well, number 1 says fill in the shapes to show each fraction. They have an example there for us, so I'm gonna skip that one. Let's go to A. We have 1/3. So I have to look at the total number of objects or spaces. If I count, there's 3 rows of 4, which means that there's 12 total number of objects or spaces, in this case spaces, right? These little boxes. So I'm gonna write that down. Make sure you write this down with me as well so that you're following along. So we have 12 spaces. Let's look at number 2 for our recipe card. It says, look at the fraction by first determining the denominator. If I look, the number at the bottom of the fraction is the denominator and it's a 3. Okay, now I know it's a 3. I'm going to write it down. Then it says divide the total number of objects, which we saw is 12, or spaces by the number in the denominator, and that we saw is 3. So I have to divide these. And we're doing this in order to shade the correct fraction. So once I divide this, it's going to tell me how many spaces or objects to shade, and that is going to be a representation of the fraction 1/3. So 12 divided by 3. If I don't know my division facts like this already, I could use the relationship between division and multiplication to figure out that I could say, well, 3 times what gives me 12? 3 times 4 gives me 12, so 12 divided by 3 must be 4, which means I'm now going to shade 4 spots, or 4 spaces. So 4 out of the 12, or 4 12s, would be the same as 1/3. Imagine we didn't have all these little lines in between, right? I'm going to see what 1/3 looks like. Right, imagine we didn't have all these lines, right? That does look like 1/3. If I ate 1/3 of a donut box, it would mean that I ate 4 donuts out of the 12. Okay, that's when the numerator is a 1, but there's an extra step if your numerator is a higher number. So let's do that one next. I'm actually going to leave B, C, and D for you. And I'm going to do E for you. So you're going to do that one with me right now. So I'm going to go back to my recipe card. Number 1, look at the total number of spaces or objects. Well, it's obviously the same. I still have 12 objects in total. And then it says to look at my fraction and look at the denominator, and it's 6. And I know I have to divide that. Okay. But because the numerator, this is if the numerator is 1, I'm going to continue to step 4 if my numerator is different, right? And here I see that 5 is my numerator. Then it says if the numerator is not 1, after you divide, you must multiply the answer by the numerator in order to shade the correct amount. And I see 5 is my numerator. So whatever I get here, I'm going to have to multiply by 5. Let me get an eraser because that multiplication sign is way too big. Okay, so now I'm going to divide 12 divided by 6. So 12 divided by 6, again, if I don't know my multiplication facts, I can say 6 times what gives me 12? 6 times 2 would give me 12. So now I'm going to write my answer down below. 12 divided by 6 is 2. And now I have to multiply that to figure out how many spots am I going to shade. 2 times 5, or 2 groups of 5, is the same as 10. So in order for me to show what 5, 6 looks like, I'm going to have to shade, right? I'm going to have to shade 10 of these spots. So I know these are 4 spaces. 8 spaces, and then I'm just gonna have to shade 2 more spaces. So 5, 6 is the same as if I had 10. If I ate 5, 6 of the donut box, which is way too much sugar, but if I ate 5, 6 of my donut box, it's the same as me saying I ate 10 out of the 12 donuts. Okay, you guys are gonna try B, you're gonna try D, you're gonna try the letter C, all on your own. And then when we meet with your small groups for math, whenever that is this week, this is definitely what we're going to go over with you guys, just to make sure that you were able to answer correctly. All right, you can take a little break right now. You can pause me and go take a water break or a snack break and come right back because we still have a little bit more to go. All right, let's do we're going to just do one example. Actually, we'll do one example from here, and we just did this earlier, but we'll do one example from here. We'll do this one together, and then you have an exit ticket today. So let's look. I'm just gonna pick a random one from here, and then you guys are gonna try it. So let's try one that might be a little bit difficult. Let's see. got it. Let's do letter B. Letter B is a little different because what do we see? We see that the numerator is different, the numerators are different, and the denominators are different. And so when in doubt, we can do a bar model, right? And there is a claim that we've gotten to, but it's been a while. So let's get to the claim after we do the bar model. So this will be for letter B. Remember that you can do the work with me right now. Make sure you do so you have an example later. I like to do my bar model one on top of the other so it's easier for me to see. I'm gonna start with 2, 6 because 6 is an even number, so I know I can just easily just like split it down the middle. Okay, and then I know in order to get 6, I need 3 parts on each side, so I'm gonna try my best to make this as even as possible. Sometimes, friends, that is really hard, but I'm trying my best. Okay. I'm gonna try that again. You see how difficult it is? It's very difficult to do even equal parts. I'm gonna just try one more time. But this is what we want you to do in practice, is to make sure that you're trying your best. I know it's not easy and I'm still not satisfied with it, but let's try. Let's try it right now. Okay. I actually think this side is a little more even, but here we go. Now the bottom one, and let me just not forget that this top one is going to represent 2, 6. And the bottom one is going to represent 1/3. And I'm gonna try to partition this into thirds now. Again, I'm trying my best, imagining that I can cut this as evenly as possible. That looks pretty even. So now I'm gonna shade both on top and on the bottom so I can compare. And then let's do a highlighter. Okay, so 2, 6 would be the same as, not working. Hold on a second while that pulls up. I need a highlighter and it's not popping up right now. So it seems like we've frozen. Hold on a second, guys. I'm gonna just pause for right now so we don't waste time. All right, and we're back. Now it's working. So let's see, let me go back. So I'm gonna shade in 2, 6. It's not perfect. Definitely not perfect, hold on. So 2, 6, looks like this. 2 out of the 6 are shaded. And then 1/3, I can just represent any, I can shade any part 1/3. I'm just gonna do it side by side so I can really see it. This is 1/3 shaded. And we see what? That 2, 6, and 1/3 is greater than, less than, or equal to. Yep, equal to, right? We see that it is equal. So what can we say about this, right? What claim have we gotten to before in class? We've definitely in class said before that another way to figure out equivalency is to look at the relationship between the numerators and the denominators. And when I look, it seems like 1/3 is just doubled, right? If I multiply the numerator by 2, it gives me 2, right? And if I multiply the denominator by 2, it gives me 6. So it seems 1/3 is doubled, which gave us 2, 6. And that's another claim that we can use, but I'm definitely going to ask you guys to do the bar model for this first when the numerators and denominators are different, just to make sure that you're getting it correct. All right, friends. So this video does not go extra long. I'm gonna ask you guys to do number 3 using that recipe card that we used earlier, number 4 as well. For number 4, it says to write each of these fractions where they belong on the number line: 1/4, 1/6, 7/8, 2/3. We've definitely done a lot of this throughout the year, so I want you to try it. Whatever you don't understand from this packet, we'll definitely be going over in small groups whenever you meet with your teacher. And last but not least, I'm gonna ask you guys to do an exit ticket today. Okay, so you're gonna write this out in your little notebook, on an index card, on a Post-it, draw out this box of delicious donuts. There's 6 of them. Miss Delgado ate 1/3 of the donuts from the donut box, shade in to show 1/3. If she ate 1/3, how many donuts did she eat? I want you to use that recipe card that we discussed earlier and that you copied in order to get that answer. If you need to rewatch this video, please do so, just so that you can get the practice and look at what we did in order to solve. See you guys in the next video, friends.